start streaming. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our third and last conversation in the series that we are holding for Women's History Month. Our guest this afternoon is Ayesha Zaheer. She's the CEO of INJAZ Pakistan. And so I won't speak too much and I will let her introduce herself. So please, Ayesha, welcome this afternoon and tell us a little bit about INJAZ, about yourself and what do you do?
So good evening, everyone here in Pakistan. So I work for INJAZ currently. So my background is very interesting. I started off with banking. Before that, I was teaching a bit to Cambridge students, switched to banking, worked there for a while, then switched to oil and gas, worked in Shell for several years. An interesting thing happened at that time, and I volunteered for this organization called the Citizens Foundation. And that got me so inspired that I decided to switch sectors this time and switch to the social sector. I joined TCF, worked there for a couple of years, and then some other organizations in the sector, and then I came to INJAZ. I have a daughter, she's 19 years old, and she'll be starting off college this year, inshallah, if all goes well. A little bit about INJAZ. So INJAZ is basically part of JA Worldwide, which is a US-based organization. It started off right after World War II, 100 years ago, and they brought up the term called skilled workforce. So their mission and vision was to develop skilled workforce amongst young people. So what they do is they conduct training programs which are hands-on experiential learning modules on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness or employability. The key interesting part of that is that they provide these training programs from ages 7 till 25. So basically, a fourth grader can actually enjoy learning financial literacy as much as a person who is 25, who has graduated the university as well. It is the largest, one of the largest youth serving organization in Pakistan, INJAZ. So let me just explain a bit. So it is operating in 120 countries. And the region that we belonged to before was the Middle Eastern region or the MENA region. So INJAZ is called achievement in Arabic. So it's called INJAZ. Now we're part of the Asia Pac region, and soon you'll be hearing JA Pakistan instead of INJAZ. So INJAZ here in Pakistan has been working for the past 8 years. Apart from the mainstream schools, colleges, and universities that we have been conducting trainings in, our key focus has been towards women economic empowerment, especially in marginalized communities. So we have conducted several training programs, several projects with multilateral agencies like DFID and BAT and USAID and DAI and other organizations. So yes, we are really focused on women economic empowerment and have the key access and reach in the communities to help out even other organizations to develop and expand this program, because there's a dire need of doing this in our country. So we have recently done a project with the State Bank of Pakistan for their National Financial Literacy Program in the interior Sindh. And we're part of the policy making for their banking for gender equality. So yeah, so the journey goes on, and it gets better every day.
Wonderful. This is a great segue actually to the next question, because March 8th, we celebrated International Women's Day, and this whole month has been really focused on women's achievement. And what did INJAZ do? I'm sure you celebrated because you're so focused on empowering women. What did INJAZ do especially for women during this month?
All right. So as I said, that INJAZ is really focused on WEE for the past few years. So we ended a project last year that is called Shajre Kamyabi for DFID through British Asian Trust. And then we started off another project, which is still going on by the name of that is basically for the Citizens Foundation, and we are developing their entrepreneurial department for them. And currently we are running online training programs for their alumni across the board. There is another campaign that is happening these days by the name of Boss Women, started off in November. So we are doing entrepreneurship trainings for women across the board, that is both online and on site. So we've done this. We've had collaborations with several universities like DHSFI University and Daughter of Shalom. So we did on-site SOP compliant trainings over there. Usually it depends on the way COVID is at that point in time. So we do trainings online and off-site. So there is another training and coaching program that happened in March, as you asked me. So that is called Kadam Badhao training, which has just gotten completed on the 18th. So that is basically on training and coaching sessions on banking pitch and e-commerce strategies, followed by mentorship workshops. So there is another one that we are in talks with, which is called Million Women Mentor Program, and we are soon going to start that off as well. So this is a small a brief of what we are doing. There was another project that we did with the USAID called Pathways to Success. That is Michelle Obama's Let the Girls Learn initiative that we did a couple of years back as well. So yeah, so the things actually keep going, getting better and going on and on. Yeah.
Very exciting to hear about all this. And unfortunately, there are still so many challenges. And the theme this year actually portrays that, because it is choose to challenge. So what, according to you, what is one of the most important challenges that women face?
So basically, it's the societal norms due to the socio-cultural barriers which we face on. It's not just a specific strata or a specific culture or a specific community. It is there. It is rampant everywhere in all kinds of socioeconomic levels. So basically, since we ran programs not just in mainstream colleges and schools for girls, but also in marginalized communities, and one thing that I noticed was that, the challenges were the same. And unluckily, the mainstream schools and colleges and the girls who come over there, in that particular area, there is a lot more silence against all that is happening against those girls and women, in comparison to the marginalized communities, because maybe they are more vocal, or there's a lot less fear of shame, and the pseudo respect that that women still talk. So the challenges are the same. They can just start off from your daughter or your sister going out to the market and getting grabbed by somebody on the way, and she being not able to do anything about it, or even tell her parents out of shame. So it starts off from that, and then it goes deeper and more graver as you open up and you explore through. So when we have been doing trainings in the communities, so we have seen, because the kind of training that we do, we really focus on mind change philosophy. We need behavioral change communication to happen in these communities. Because if you don't do that, it will just be a training session and there would be no impact or outcome coming out of it. So we have seen that even if we talk about financial literacy and we say that, we teach these girls about financial assistance that is available and the financial services that we can connect them with, The cultural barrier that really comes in is basically not that they don't know about it, they get awareness, but the problem is that nobody would let them open an account. So they would have severe, you know, aggression against it. And it's not just their fathers and brothers. It's their mothers as well, because they have grown in the same kind of a culture. So what I talk about mindset change is basically you have to do counseling for their entire household. So when a training program happens, it should not ideally focus on just the women. It needs to be over encompassing towards the men as well in the family, because unless and until you change the mindset of the men around, you can't really bring about the change that we all talk about in the umbrella of WEE, that is women economic empowerment. So these are the little issues that we faced when we were running these trainings. So we did this for like above 2,000 women, and we were supposed to, as a KPI, we were supposed to develop their small enterprises or set them up on jobs. So the enterprises part was very, very critical. And for that, our KPI was to open up their bank accounts. And bank account opening was always a challenge for us because nobody would agree. First of all, they wouldn't even make their CNICs. And they would be like, once they get married, you know, they can get their CNICs made at that time. And then you have to convince them, you have to run awareness campaigns, and you need to tell them this is not a threat, and convince them to make them open up their daughter's account, and not a joint account with the brother or the father, but an individual account. So it's actually a very long process. Like I said, the mindset change is something that is going to take years, perhaps. And every project that is being done or will be done in this area needs to include all this in that specific project KPI that we need to do, because it's not just that you open an account, put in a specific amount of money and do a tick box for yourself that, you know, we did it. You actually need to bring about the change that you talk about. And that is the only way that we are going to improve upon where we stand today. Yes.
Yeah, so as you say, education is so important in that, and it's sad, you know, when you see women not be able to or not willing to support other women. So, Aisha,
Yeah.
I am sure that all these convictions that you have today have been inspired from something that you read, somebody. Is there somebody that inspired you, a woman in particular that brings you where you are today?
So it's very interesting because it's never one woman. It's always a couple of women or people that inspire you along the way. But for me, when I was in high school and we used to study physics and chemistry, um, a name really inspired me. That was Madame Marie Curie. So she was the first woman who received the Nobel Prize, and her invaluable research on cancer treatment and discovery of radioactive elements is something which is known to everyone. Um, so reading about her really inspired me in a way that um, perhaps developed this mindset of mine to do something which perhaps generally people don't do. Because Marie Curie made me realize that women can basically do whatever they want. They can work shoulder to shoulder with men, just like she did. So that was basically the start of perhaps when I look back today, she had a lot of influence on me, on various times that I needed the motivation to go forward. So yes, and the risks that I took in my life, and the change of sectors and businesses and everything, and I think that really worked for me. So apart from that, there are two other women who always were there to support me. One was my mother. She is a very strong personality, and have always, idealized her in a way that she had resolute determination when she would want to do something, she would, go ahead and do that. So a lot of credit goes to my father for that, because he has always been very supportive. But the thing has, my mother's determination and her willpower has always inspired me, and that really worked for me whenever I got stuck somewhere, or whenever I was working against the odds, or had a lot of people who were going against me just because I was a woman. And the second woman, a girl, I should say, is my daughter. She makes me very proud, because I've really worked on her and tried to make her a strong woman that she is today, bless her. And the kind of ideas that she has, and the kind of aspiration she has to be and do. She has also selected a field which usually women don't select. She's into computer sciences, and she has led competitions across Pakistan and everything. So she makes me proud, and she inspires me and encourages me. I mean, at the age of 19, they're more like your friends. So yeah, I presume it started off with getting the awareness and the inspiration from Marie Curie, and then two very strong women, one after the other, who really, really, really inspired me. Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. I remember Marie Curie reading that, she had to face a lot of challenges. Her work was not recognized. They wanted to recognize her husband for the work that she was doing. And
Absolutely.
so she had to break down a lot of barriers. And just like that, I'm sure, as in your job, you do encounter a lot of things that people are doing, little things maybe that they do individually. Can you tell us maybe a couple of stories of uh, what can we do, on our own? Because sometimes it feels very uh, there's so much to do, we don't know where to start, can be very overwhelming, or we feel that, what I can do won't do anything, it's just me, one little thing won't help. But tell us, what do you feel that we can do individually?
So basically, if you want to support women, it basically starts from home. So from home, I actually mean that our daughters, our sisters, our wives. And this is something that we need to do along with the men in our houses as well. So it's not just our daughters, sisters, wives, it's our house help, it's our caregivers, it's the women we come across in salons and different shops. It's all that. Like I said previously, that if your daughter comes back home crying that she has been catcalled, or groped or something in public, and she could not do anything about it, so she should, one, have the confidence to not hide it and come to you and tell you. And then you should have that determination to do something about it. Maybe take her out and find that guy, and then, settle scores, so that she gains the confidence. I'll just tell you a small story. My daughter was in KG1, and she was a very studious child, and by the grace of God, and I never had to check her on her studies. And as a 6-year-old, she would love to go to school. And then suddenly I realized that she did not want to go to school, and she just would not tell me why. And then I asked her, I was like, and I probed, and I petted her, and I was like, you need to tell me what happened, why don't you want to go to school? And she said that there is this boy in the class who pulls my cheeks. She had very cute cheeks, and very long curly brown hair. So he was like that, he pulls my hair, and he bugs me like that. So he pulls my cheeks and all that, and I don't want to go. So there and then I was like, let's go. So I went. We got late, obviously. I went into the class, and I identified the boy, and I shouldn't have done that perhaps, but I gave him a piece of my mind. And I was like, you never are going to touch this girl ever again, or any other girl, or I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to tell your parents, and I'm going to tell the entire school that you're a bad boy. Maybe that was harassment in our society right now, but I guess that was important. It is important for two reasons. It is important it was important for my daughter, because henceforth she had the confidence, and if somebody would bug her, she would tell me. And number two, for all the other girls around, that they got the message that they need to blow the whistle if somebody bugs them. But the story doesn't end here. When I brought my daughter back home, I told her that this time you cried, next time don't come back crying home. You need to settle scores first with whoever it is, and then come back home and tell me each and everything. So it's not just that you need to overprotect your children. Yes, they need to have the confidence, but then yes, they need to know how to settle scores and not be dependent on somebody who is supporting them at that time. So this is just, one story from my daughter's childhood. Often you see that the house help that you have, they have a lot of issues. Sometimes they are working because their husbands are maybe bedridden, or maybe they don't work at all. And the entire burden that comes on the woman's shoulder, and then they're abused, their husbands are abusive and their children are abusive. So these are the times that you need to tell them that you are basically doing the job which the husband is supposed to do. So you should not be taking all that crap from the rest of the family. So in my case, my house help lost her husband a couple of years back, and she's the one who actually worked in houses and her children and all that. And then she made her own house and married one of her children. But her family pressure was that her in-laws would create a lot of pressure on her. And she's not from Karachi, she comes from Multan. And on every occasion of, whether it's a wedding or a death or something, they would just pressurize her to come over, and all that chat that they do, and the gossiping and everything. And she would get very pressurized because her husband wasn't there. So I had to sit her down and tell her that, see, you are the one who is the breadwinner for the family, and the people who are bickering about you were never there to help you out when you needed it. You did it on your own. God gave you the strength, and then you worked on that, and now you have done what sometimes men are not able to do. So once you're doing that, you need to be very sure of yourself, and you need to do what is right for your family and for yourself. So we also come across women who are encountering a lot of domestic violence, and even girls. I mean, that really saddens me. And there was this girl who came to me, and she was being abused and assaulted by her brothers and her father. And I could not sleep for many days after that. And we connected her with the legal help and everything. So there are lots and lots of stories which happen. And a lot of times women, the only thing they need is a little bit of encouragement. So I think there are like three key things. One is the discussion and awareness that you need to bring in, and an access and opportunity, and a genuine support that you need to give them so they trust you. You basically need to develop that trust. So the project that I'm talking about, that we did for British Asian Trust, those girls are still attached to us. They still contact us. They still tell us what their achievements are and what hindrances they are facing. One of the girls who started off her business with 15,000 rupees, pre-COVID, she was earning 400,000 rupees a month. And it was just the encouragement. Yes, the training mattered, the training that we did, but it was basically the encouragement, the confidence that we built in her that really did it for her. So there are lots of stories around. And this is basically, I think, I often say that to my friends, that I used to sell around 3.5 million liters of oil when I was working in Shell. But the kind of sense of achievement you get here, because you see not just a woman standing on her own feet, and but also her family, which is not just getting socially uplifted, but the woman is actually truly getting empowered on that. So this is true achievement that you do, and this is something that should just expand and scale up and never ever end. We have a long journey ahead of us. Yes.
Yeah, well, this is very nice to hear, Aisha, and I can feel that, these are things that you feel very passionate about. And now you mentioned about COVID. Did you see any effects of COVID on what you're doing, on the empowerment that you're trying to achieve during this last year? How it has affected the INJAZ?
Yes, it has. It has adversely affected because just right before COVID, struck, we were about to commission a project in interior Sindh, mainly the very backward regions of Tharparkar and Umarkot, and Larkana. So we were about to start that, and we were going to work with those women and empower them, and connect them with the market and give them a route, the access to and the route to the market as well. So that project could not happen because it was with the Dutch embassy. We'd already done 2 financial literacy inclusion projects with them, a year each, and this was a 3-year project, and we had really worked hard on it. But it could not happen because COVID had, once it had struck, it was really, really bad in Europe. And I mean, they were all flabbergasted. They didn't know what to do. So then we even, but there is always opportunity in adversity, I would say. So when COVID struck, we started to connect with our beneficiaries, and we actually realized that they were in really bad shape. Just like I told you about this, our best success story, our star beneficiary who started off a food business from 15,000 rupees 2 years ago, and she was earning 400,000 rupees a month. And not just that, she had actually created jobs, which is actually the next level of empowerment. So she had, since she observed Parda, so she had this rickshawala coming to her for delivery, and then she had the sabzi wala, the vegetable guy, the meat guy, and the woman who would make rotis for her and all that. So yeah, so there were many stories like that, like thousands of stories like that. And then we were connected with them, just like I said, that we stay connected with them even if the project that ends. So they were literally crying on the phone because they were practically starving. We sit here and we talk about the laptops that we have to buy for our children, and the internet connection not working. And when we would listen to them, and they were starving, there was a lot of mental health issues involved over there, a lot of depression because of what was happening, and a lot of domestic violence and divorces and everything else. And it was really, really bad. So what we did was that we picked up our beneficiaries, around 100 of them, and we conducted this SOP compliant training for these lockdown impacted beneficiaries of ours. So we got we got the support of the city district government from Korangi, and the Korangi Industrial Trade and Industry president as well. And we did these digital marketing and e-commerce trainings for them, because since they couldn't go out and there was a lot of delivery issue and everything. So we did that so that they could actually start off again. And I believe if we could and we would get support, so I would want to do that to all the beneficiaries around, and even others who are there and who need help. So I mean, it's more is less in this particular field. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aisha. Unfortunately, we're getting at the end of our time this afternoon. Any words that you'd like to share for closing today?
So I would say that, just like we used to, when we were growing up, there was one thing that my mother would always say, that, we all live for ourselves, but a life worth living is the one that you spend for others, for doing something for others. And I believe that really gives you the satisfaction. Because once you're working for the benefit, for the betterment and welfare of others, your work just gets done anyways. It just gets done, you don't even know it. But the satisfaction you get when you work, when you're there for people who need you, that is just something else. And I think that it should go on, and we should teach this to our younger generation as well, because that's what actually takes you to the other side, and with success and happiness. Yes. So
Indeed, very, very noble aspiration, and it brings us joy to serve others. And thank
absolutely.
you, Ayesha. Thank you for joining us, everybody, this afternoon. This concludes our third and last of the series of conversations for Women's History Month. And thank you for joining us. And we look forward to having you again at some other time on our program. Thank you. Bye-bye.